Hello there, welcome into the show. Yes, the waiting is nearly over. Time for our final, pre-final show, if that makes any sense. Our final,
No.
I think it does. I'm Adrian Healy with Shaka Hislop.
No, if you like
Craig
it, that's
Burley.
fine.
I'm going with it. On the scene for us in Madrid, right outside the Wanda Metropolitano, we have Stuart Robson and Steve Nicol. Let's start with you, gents. Set the scene for us, paint the picture. I know it's very dark, very different to how it'll be tomorrow. Stuart, first of all, Liverpool against Spurs. This is a game we've seen a lot of over the last few years in the Premier League. How do you think tomorrow, on a hot June evening in Madrid, is going to be different?
It will still be a high-tempo game. Liverpool will still press the ball. Liverpool will want to dominate possession. The question will be, can Spurs play beyond that pressure? Against Ajax, they didn't do that. They tried to play out from the back. Ajax closed them down, kept on winning the ball back, and eventually they had to go to Llorente and bypass that pressure. It's how Spurs can get the ball from back to front will determine whether they get any or play any part in this game. Otherwise, if they try and play out from the back, try and play through midfield, I think Liverpool will beat them quite easily.
How are you feeling, Stevie? And what are you particularly looking forward to tomorrow?
I'll be honest with you, I'm very calm, very confident. I think Liverpool are in a great place. I'm not so sure that Spurs are. Which may sound a little strange considering the Champions League final, but, you know, we know exactly what Liverpool will do. Liverpool know exactly what they're about. As Stewie said, they'll start high tempo, they're going to squeeze Spurs, but we don't know how Spurs are going to play. I think they might end up playing three at the back because I think they have to start a little more defensively. So I don't think that's going to be a shock for anybody. Liverpool, no question, will get after it straight away. And Spurs, I think, will try and play their way into the game and if nothing else, make sure right at the very start it's tight and they don't end up doing what they've done recently, and that's, you know, give goals away. Do
you see it the same way, boys?
It's funny, there's a couple of teams been mooted around from a Spurs perspective, and, you know, Stevie mentioned there, one of them's been a back three. Now, as we know, with the back three and the wing backs, is that, you know, you can at times be pushed back to your back five ultimately, and that would give Liverpool domination of the middle of the park, particularly with getting their full-backs forward as well, to aid and abet. And we know Robertson and Alexander, particularly Robertson, how good he's been getting forward there. But also, in that, if it is that system, the talk is that Harry Kane will play, which we don't know. It's the big sort of million-dollar question, and it would probably mean that Lucas Moura would lose out. Now, at this moment in time, if I was a Liverpool player or coach, I'd be quite happy to see Lucas Moura sitting on the bench, because him and Son have been tremendous in Harry Kane's absence, and he's never been in a better frame of mind, Lucas Moura, since he came to the club. Spent a lot of time on the bench. All of a sudden, he gets the freedom to go and play, does some wonderful things. And by what we're looking at, or what I'm seeing from a couple of different publications, there's potential that he might not play. I think that's good news for Liverpool.
Yeah, we talked a lot yesterday about the Kane dilemma, Shaka. You weren't here to weigh in on that. If you were Pochettino, would you be playing? Would you be starting him tomorrow?
No, I'd prefer to use Kane if I needed him. And as mentioned by quite a few before me, the challenge is Kane coming on or starting, and then all of a sudden you're forced into that change when you don't want to, and maybe in a position that you don't want to. I just feel it leaves too many different conundrums. Listen, no question. Kane, fully fit, Spurs are far better with him than without him. It's just too much of a gamble and not knowing exactly how fit he'll be. You could be 100% in training. It doesn't mean that you're match sharp. And given the time he's been out, he cannot be match sharp.
I'll go out to the boys and get their thoughts on this as well. But both of you two have played in finals. You've played in big games. How are they different from players?
And by the way, I played in the final in '94 and I wasn't 100% fit in the FA Cup final. And I know how much of a struggle it is. But I wanted to play, and maybe professionally that was wrong. But you do have that urgency to play in these big games, particularly if you're a younger player. And sometimes the heart rules the head, Adrian. And, you know, Harry Kane is one of the most sought-after strikers in European football. But it's a huge call, because sometimes you've got to put the team before yourself. And I certainly didn't do that in '94, and I would understand if a player didn't do it. But this is going to come down to maybe one of Pochettino's biggest decisions in his short managerial career, whether he plays Harry Kane or not.
And that mentality, that big game mentality. These are two teams that know each other very well,
Yeah.
Shaka. So how's it different?
It's a sense of occasion. You know that all eyes are on you. Nobody else in the world of football is pretty much looking at anything else. They all kind of focused on you. And it's easy to manage if you've had that experience and you understand what that stage means and how to handle that expectation. As a young player, if you aren't used to playing in these games, the Premier League is one thing. If you aren't used to playing in big finals, it can take some getting used to, which again kind of lends itself to Liverpool, given their experiences.
Stevie and Stuart, maybe Stevie first, your thoughts on the differences with a big game, particularly with a 3-game break. It's a long time since these players have played any football.
Yeah, I think there'll definitely be a couple of players who will not have enjoyed that. You know, some guys like to keep going and some guys, you know, benefit from getting a rest. As far as Tottenham's, you know, not experienced a final before, yes, I think Liverpool being in it last year gives them the edge of there'll be no surprises. But let's not kid ourselves. Most of the Tottenham players have played in huge games. You know, Sissoko's played in a World Cup final, and Kane and some of the other guys, they've all played in semi-finals of the World Cup. So, you know, the big game experience is not going to be new to them. But just the fact that Liverpool were there last year, I think they will probably be more settled.
Just want to go back to what you were talking about, Harry Kane. You and I, Adrian, were at Lisbon when it was the Champions League final between Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid, and we watched Diego Costa warm up and play in the training game on the day before, and we didn't think he was fully fit. They started him. How long did he last? 10 minutes. If they make the same mistake, Spurs, it could cost them dearly. If they play him and he has to come off after 15 minutes, that's a big blow.
And, you know, the thing about playing Harry Kane, you know, we think, and certainly I do, I know Robbo does, that, you know, the space for them is going to be behind Liverpool's fullbacks. That means that any out ball, you're going to have to ask your front two. You're going to have to.
But they've got to get it up to them first, because that's what they didn't do against Ajax. They had no way of getting it through the midfield, so they had to go longer and play up to a front man, which was Llorente in the end.
But my point is that if they're going to be playing balls in behind Robertson and Alexander-Arnold, you're going to need somebody with legs to get on it.
And Sonomora will be the players.
And Harry Kane can't possibly be able to do that for any length of time, because he's just not had game time. So again, there's another reason why he shouldn't start.
Well, Son is able to do that if he's the one that plays. But the other side of the Harry Kane's game is he's not always running in behind. You watch him a lot of his career his career at Tottenham as he's progressed into this wonderful player that he is. He's dropped short. He's been the one to drop short, pick it up with his back to play, get turned and spray balls around. He's been very good at it. An excellent passer of the ball with Son running in behind. The whole question is just how sharp is he? And you cannot not play competitive football for the best part of 7 or 8 weeks and go and play in a Champions League final against arguably the best defender in world football at the moment and expect to be up to speed. It just doesn't add up.
To your point about selection, I'd go with Moura, Son and Kane. And if assuming that he is right, the decision has been made that he's going to start, and just play a straight-out counter-attacking game, which you saw from Spurs in the second half against Ajax, albeit with Llorente, which you've seen Kane play with England, with Rashford and Sterling alongside him. And as Stuart is pointing out, pretty much just bypass the midfield as a game plan.
Give me some X factors, maybe players that you wouldn't expect to be, potential game winners on both teams. Players who have to have a really good game for their team to win tomorrow. Is there anyone out there?
I'm going to go with goalkeepers.
Not the normal candidates. I know you're going to go
they're all
goalkeepers.
Star players, aren't they? I mean, Harry Winks, he's missed some games. He's been a big player for Tottenham in the last few months, and he's really come on. He's very tidy in the middle of the park. I think they did miss him. They coped with it in the end. I mean, Christian Eriksen obviously is a match winner. I think one guy, and I think he'll play, is key to what Liverpool do is Fabinho.
Yeah.
And I think if he plays and reads the game really well and keeps it tidy and fills in for fullbacks when they go forward and does a really good job, I think he's key to protecting the back four, but also giving them the platform to go and for their more attacking players to shine.
Robbo, first of all, maybe on the Spurs side, any surprising X-factor players who have to have a big game for them tomorrow?
Well, I'm going to go for the player that changed the game against Ajax. He's not everybody's favourite. He's not very mobile. But if Spurs are losing the game and the last 15, 20 minutes, they need to get the ball forward, they need to get crosses into the box, Llorente may just come on and get that equaliser or get a goal that just takes them to the next level. So Llorente is the surprise choice from me.
Stevie?
I think for Spurs, you know, I think it'll be Winks and Sissoko. The two of them have to be at the best. Because if they're not at it and they're getting overrun in the middle of the park, then I don't care who Spurs are going to have up front, they're not going to be able to make the chances and score the goal. So, you know, I think really it's for me, right in the middle, Spurs have to be solid and strong and at their best. And I'm not quite sure that Winks and Sissoko are going to be able to handle.
And they're going to be outnumbered in there as well.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, you two get tickets, or you're going to have to blag your way in? What's happening? Are you buying them on the black market? What's happening?
We still don't know.
They're at
We
the
still
front of the
don't
line. They're already there, right
Stevie
outside
can
the
get
stadium.
anywhere, he said.
You can sneak in now.
Stevie said he can get anywhere when
That's
it's
his
Liverpool.
ticket. There's his ticket.
When you look at the recent meetings between these two teams, you could take this back to 2013. And the numbers are eye-popping. Liverpool have dominated.
Yes.
Go back to the start of 2013. That's 14 meetings. Liverpool won 9 of them. Spurs have only beaten them once. Do we read anything into this? Well, again, those are nearly all in the Premier League.
I was looking earlier, I think I went back to about 2011-12, and it was 9 for Liverpool, 3 for Tottenham. So it is overwhelming. And on top of that, Liverpool won both matches in the Premier League this season.
Yep, 2-1, both of them.
Both of them 2-1. You know, tight game. I mean, I'm trying to think back to the game at Wembley early in the season. It was a tight game in the end, but Liverpool missed a host of chances. Were really poor in front of goal, or the game would have been dead and buried. But they have, look, 26 points clear over 38 games. That's what Liverpool were, because they are the better of the two sides. Two excellent sides, but Liverpool are the better side. So one-off game, all the old cliches, anything can happen. Yeah. If Liverpool have a really good night and do the basics well, they are the better of the two teams. There's no doubt about it.
Here's a teaser for you, Shaka. The last English team to win a Champions League final that didn't require penalties? Manchester United.
Oh, okay.
1990. 20 years ago. It's always gone to penalties.
You know when you give somebody a teaser, you're supposed to let them answer.
No, he knew. He could tell.
I thought he was going to jump right in there. So, if this does go to penalties, looking at those two goals.
Well, we'll be finishing late, and I will certainly not be happy.
We'll have a delayed start to this show tomorrow. But who would you rather have in goal, Alisson or Lloris, when it comes to the penalty shootout?
When it comes to the game, I prefer to have Alisson in goal. Listen, Alisson's a better goalkeeper right now. I don't think many people would challenge that. If it comes to penalties, I'd do exactly the same. I'd have the exact same choice.
I think Klopp needs this. I know Pochettino needs this.
Does he need it more than Pochettino?
Well, I think he does. I'll tell you why. Because just the fact Pochettino has gotten this team, who've spent little,
zero
Champions League final, is been a great achievement. It's a great achievement for both clubs. Liverpool back to back. But being in the position he's been in last year, being in the fact he's been to finals before with Dortmund and lost, I know he won the Bundesliga, and being in the fact that they have spent some money and we know they are a good side, I think he needs to get this Liverpool team over the line.
I think that's the other side to that coin where you pointed out Liverpool's dominance over the last few years, is that Spurs come into this playing with house money.
Right.
Yeah. It almost does not matter what Spurs do right now. I think they come out looking good, as does Pochettino. Whereas with Liverpool, you're still wondering about last year's final. Can they prove? And given their dominance, can Klopp bring this home in a way that you expect them to?
Stuart and Stevie, do you agree? And these are two nearly teams, aren't they, under Pochettino and Klopp? They've come so close to winning silverware. They haven't done yet. Does Klopp need this more than Pochettino?
Yeah, Klopp needs it more than Pochettino. Pochettino, as Craig said, has done brilliantly with his Spurs side. Spurs have never been a side that you expect to win things. They've been mid-table, and they got into one Champions League group when they were under Harry Redknapp. But he's done brilliantly. He's taken them to the next level. They play good football. He's made average players very much better. So I think he's the manager that's done a great job. Klopp has obviously done a great job at Liverpool, but he needs this trophy, and I think he will get it.
Do you know, I would agree. Klopp's the one that needs it more. And to Shaka's point about Spurs playing with house money, I would rather be in Liverpool's position. You know, there's one thing to say to everybody, well, our name's written on the cup. But you want to go into any game knowing what you're about, being confident, knowing that, you know, you're talking about past history against Spurs. You know that you can beat this team. And by the way,
They should go into the game with no fear, should they, Liverpool?
and by the way, Spurs know that Liverpool can beat them as well. So, you know, this thing about your name's on the cup and playing with house money, I absolutely would rather be in the Liverpool side. And again, yes,
Prediction?
one under more pressure.
Predictions to come a little later on in the show, whether it goes to extra time or penalties. We will be here tomorrow. We'll bring you a podcast with all the reactions from here and in Madrid to how the Champions League final unfolded. You can catch our podcast every day on iTunes. Now, join the growing community. That would be our YouTube page followers. Well over 321,000. I can't read the final figure there, but it's a lot. Over 321,000. All the ESPN FC content you can ever wish for more fine content. Let's go out to our other man in Madrid, Mr. Thomas. Dan Thomas standing outside the Wanda Metropolitano. Dan, any sign of fans yet from England? This is being billed in English media as one of the biggest mass exoduses ever of English fans for a single game.
There are plenty of fans around, certainly in the centre of the city. But it's interesting, you think back to even just a couple of weeks ago, Marca had that headline, Miedo, fear from the bartenders about everyone was going to shut up because they were worried about all these English hooligans coming over. And there's been absolutely no evidence of that whatsoever. They've been concentrated in the fan zones in Puerta del Sol and Plaza Mayor, which is really in the centre of the city. But for example, today I had lunch with a couple of friends and we were just down a side street near the centre, and you wouldn't know there was a big match going on tomorrow. Obviously more fans to arrive over the next 12, 24 hours, but overall it is not quite the hooligan scene that some were expecting.
What about the Madrilenos, Dan? You're one at heart. I know you are. You know, Atleti was supposed to be in this final, weren't they? Real Madrid are supposed to be in every final. So do the locals care at all? I was reading that perhaps they're rooting for Liverpool.
Yeah, I think they do care. I think they have a lot of pride in the city. They like the fact that such a big match is being played in their town. Liverpool is very much the Madrid choice, certainly to the people that I've been speaking to. There's a lot of history, isn't there, between Real Madrid, Liverpool, Atletico Madrid, Fernando Torres kind of flying that flag 10 years ago. So I think definitely there is a Liverpool bias when you speak to the Madrid people.
And I know you and I were both lucky enough to be at the last Champions League final in Madrid, Dan, but that's very different at the Bernabeu. How different is it being at the Wanda Metropolitano, which is some way out of the centre, isn't it?
Yeah, it's weird. Like, Bernabeu's right in the centre, and most of the matches we've been to recently when it comes to Champions League finals are like that. This is very much on the outskirts. It's very close to the airport, pretty much deserted around us, not too much to kind of keep you interested. However, there's a metro. They were still just finishing off bits a couple of days ago when we came here to pick up our accreditation. Still digging up bits of garden around here, trying to make it look nice. But the stadium, well, state of the art, as you would expect, brand new. It's a great venue, a little bit outside of the city, which will be interesting to see how the infrastructure, when it comes to getting all the fans in the stadium, copes tomorrow.
Great stuff, Dan. I know there's a plaque of Fernando Torres right outside the stadium, so maybe Liverpool will feel at home.
Where did he get that hat?
A little earlier on, Dan was busy.